Have you ever looked into the toilet bowl after urinating and noticed bubbles or foam that did not disappear quickly? Not just a few bubbles that vanish right away. I mean foam that sits there on the surface for 30 seconds or more. Foam that lingers. Foam that keeps showing up again and again. If that is happening to you consistently, not just once in a while, then I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to say. Because that foam may be one of the clearest visible signs that your kidneys are allowing protein to leak into your urine. And when protein starts showing up in your urine, that is not just a kidney issue tucked away in a lab report somewhere. It is a whole body warning signal. It is your body telling you that the microscopic filter inside your kidneys is under stress, under attack, or already starting to break down. And one of the most powerful things influencing that damage every single day is something most people never think much about: what you drink. What you put into your body in liquid form every morning, every afternoon, every evening can either help protect that filtration barrier or quietly accelerate the damage. That foam, clinically called proteinuria when it reflects protein loss in the urine, forms because protein molecules change the surface tension of water. Normal urine contains very little protein. Healthy kidneys are designed to keep protein in your bloodstream, where it belongs. But when the kidney's filtration barrier becomes damaged, proteins, especially albumin, begin to leak through. And once albumin starts escaping into the urine, it can create that foamy appearance many people notice but do not realize is important. So today, I am going to explain exactly what damages that filtration barrier, and more specifically, which drinks may be making that damage worse, and which drinks may actually help protect kidney function when used correctly. I am Dr. Robert Sterling. I work with patients dealing with chronic kidney disease, diabetic neuropathy, high blood pressure-related kidney damage, and the metabolic issues that so often overlap with aging. And one pattern I see again and again is this. People are told they have protein in their urine. They are told to watch their kidneys. They are told to stay hydrated. But almost nobody sits them down and clearly explains which beverages are actively making the filtration barrier weaker and which ones may support the physiology we are trying to protect. That gap matters. Because once you understand why these drinks help or harm, the choices become much easier. In this video, I'm going to cover 3 drinks you should be using strategically and 4 drinks you should stop immediately if proteinuria is part of your picture. And before we get there, I need to show you the actual structure inside the kidney that proteinuria represents damage to. Because once you understand that structure, everything else in this video will make sense on a much deeper level. Inside each kidney are about 1 million filtering units called nephrons. Inside each nephron is a tiny ball-like structure called the glomerulus. That glomerulus is where blood gets filtered. But here's the part most people never hear. Your kidneys do not filter blood through one simple layer. They filter through 3 highly specialized layers, each doing a different job. The first layer is the endothelium. This is the inner lining of the tiny blood vessels in the glomerulus. It has small openings that allow fluid and tiny dissolved substances through, but it helps block larger components. It also carries a protective negative charge that helps repel albumin, which is also negatively charged. When that endothelial layer is damaged, protein becomes more likely to slip through. What damages it? High blood sugar, oxidative stress, inflammatory signaling, and chronic vascular strain. The second layer is the glomerular basement membrane. Think of this as the core structural screen in the filter. It is made of specialized proteins and matrix components that create a size and charge-selective barrier. When healthy, it helps prevent albumin from passing through. When damaged, stiffened, thickened, inflamed, or structurally altered, it becomes less selective. What damages this layer? Advanced glycation from chronically high blood sugar, oxidative injury, inflammation, and pressure-related stress over time. Then comes the third layer, and this is the one I want you to remember most: the podocytes and their slit diaphragm. Podocytes are highly specialized cells with tiny, foot-like extensions that wrap around the filtering capillaries. Between those extensions are microscopic gaps bridged by proteins that act like precision gates. This is one of the most important final checkpoints preventing albumin from leaking into the urine. When these podocytes become injured, flattened, inflamed, or detached, those filtration slits lose their integrity. And when that happens, albumin starts getting through. That is where proteinuria often begins. So when you see persistent foam in the toilet bowl, you are potentially seeing evidence that those tiny filtration structures are under enough stress that protein is getting past barriers that were never supposed to let it through. Now, why does this matter so much? Because proteinuria is not just a lab abnormality. It is strongly associated with progression of chronic kidney disease, higher cardiovascular risk, more inflammation, more vascular injury, and a higher long-term burden on the body. In other words, this is not something to shrug off. And here is another crucial point. Many people assume that if they are drinking more fluids, they must automatically be helping their kidneys. That is not always true. Yes, dehydration is a problem, but in someone with kidney vulnerability, how you hydrate, what you hydrate with, and how quickly you drink matter more than most people realize. I am going to come back to water in a moment, because even water can help or stress the kidneys depending on the pattern. But first, let me give you a simple framework so you understand where protein loss in urine generally fits clinically. At the low end, a urine albumin to creatinine ratio below 30 milligrams per gram is considered normal. From 30 to 300, we call it moderately increased albuminuria, sometimes referred to as the early warning stage. Above 300, we enter a more clearly concerning range that reflects established kidney injury. And when protein levels become very high, the situation becomes much more serious and requires specialist management. Why does this matter for you? Because if you are in the earlier stage, that is the window where lifestyle, blood pressure control, blood sugar control, and beverage choices can make a meaningful difference. Unfortunately, many people do not even know where they stand because nobody has ever ordered the right urine test. If you have diabetes, high blood pressure, a family history of kidney disease, or you are over 65 and noticing persistent foamy urine, ask your doctor for a urine albumin to creatinine ratio. That number gives you a baseline. And when you have a baseline, you have something real to track. Now let's talk about the drinks. I want to start with the ones you should never be drinking regularly if proteinuria is part of your health picture. Never drink number 1, dark cola sodas. Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, similar dark colas. These drinks create a damaging combination for vulnerable kidneys, and they do it through more than one pathway. First, many dark colas contain phosphoric acid. This matters because phosphorus in additive form is generally absorbed very efficiently. In people with normal kidney function, the body may be able to compensate, but in people with reduced kidney reserve or ongoing glomerular injury, higher phosphorus load can become a real problem. Second, dark sodas usually carry a heavy sugar burden, often from high fructose corn syrup or similar sweeteners. That fructose load matters because fructose metabolism is different from glucose metabolism. It tends to push uric acid production higher and contributes to metabolic strain that can worsen blood pressure signaling, vascular stress, and the internal environment that kidneys are already struggling in. Third, these drinks are often consumed repeatedly. Not once a month, not rarely, but daily. And that repetition matters. A drink that delivers heavy sugar, additive phosphorus, acid load, and no meaningful kidney protective compounds is not a neutral choice. It is a repeated stress signal. If protein is showing up in your urine, dark cola is not a just cut back a little drink. It is an eliminate it drink. Never drink number 2, commercial fruit juice. This one surprises people more than almost anything else. Because it is marketed as healthy, it is sold beside whole foods. It carries fruit pictures on the label, and many people genuinely believe they are doing something good for themselves when they drink it. But most commercial fruit juice delivers a fast, concentrated sugar load without the fiber that made the original fruit metabolically safer. That missing fiber matters. Whole fruit slows absorption. Whole fruit changes the glycemic response. Whole fruit changes the fructose delivery pattern. Juice removes that built-in braking system. So what hits your system is a concentrated liquid sugar dose that your liver has to process quickly. That can worsen glucose variability, raise uric acid, increase metabolic stress, and contribute to the very pathways we are trying to calm down in proteinuric kidneys. And the danger is not only what is in the glass, it is the frequency. People sip juice with breakfast, with lunch, as a healthy snack, with medications, with no awareness that they may be repeating a kidney-stressing metabolic hit several times a day. That is why juice can be more harmful than people expect, especially if you already have diabetes, insulin resistance, high blood pressure, or early kidney damage. Now, I will make one important exception later when we talk about pomegranate juice, because that is a very different metabolic situation in a carefully controlled amount. But as a general rule, commercial fruit juice is not helping a kidney that is leaking protein. Never drink number 3, energy drinks. If you or someone you know is using energy drinks as a substitute for rest, breakfast, coffee, or hydration, I need you to hear this very clearly. For kidneys that are already vulnerable, energy drinks are one of the worst combinations you can buy in a can. Why? Because they often stack multiple kidney stressors together at once. High caffeine, large sugar load or artificial sweetener burden, acidic formulation, various stimulant compounds, and in many cases, repeated daily use. Caffeine in large doses can affect blood pressure, vascular tone, and fluid balance. The sugar load can worsen metabolic stress. The stimulant mix may alter how the kidneys are being perfused and how the body handles stress hormones. And because people often use these drinks when they are tired, underslept, dehydrated, or already in a state of physiologic strain, the whole effect gets amplified. Energy drinks are not a harmless pick-me-up for someone with proteinuria. They are a multi-hit stressor. If that is part of your routine, stop. Not later. Now. Never drink number 4, alcohol, including red wine. I want to address this carefully because some people have heard for years that moderate red wine can be good for the heart. And that idea leads many people to assume it must also be fine or even helpful for the kidneys. That is not a safe assumption if proteinuria is already present. Alcohol affects hydration status. It can alter blood pressure regulation. It can influence vascular tone. It can stress the liver and kidneys together. And in people already dealing with an injured filtration barrier, even moderate regular alcohol use may contribute to a less favorable environment for kidney protection. Now, does this mean one small amount of alcohol dooms the kidneys? No, but if we are talking about building the most kidney protective routine possible in someone already showing signs of filtration damage, alcohol is not on the helpful side of the equation. And as for red wine specifically, the polyphenol argument gets exaggerated. Yes, red wine contains beneficial compounds, but not in a form or amount that makes the alcohol itself kidney protective in someone with proteinuria. If you want protective polyphenols, there are better and safer ways to get them. Which brings us to the drinks you should be using strategically. Must drink number 1, hibiscus tea. If I had to pick one beverage that most people with proteinuria have never seriously considered, but absolutely should know about, it would be hibiscus tea. Hibiscus is rich in polyphenols and anthocyanins, and one reason it gets attention is because of the way it may support healthier blood pressure regulation. Why is that relevant? Because high blood pressure and intraglomerular pressure are two of the biggest forces driving kidney filter damage. Anything that helps improve that pressure environment in a safe and sustainable way can matter. Hibiscus has been studied for its effects on blood pressure, vascular health, and oxidative stress. And in the context of proteinuria, those are not small issues. They are central issues. A calmer pressure environment means less mechanical stress on the glomerulus. Less oxidative stress means less injury to the endothelium and podocytes. That is why hibiscus belongs on this list. The practical use is simple. 2 cups a day is a very reasonable place to start for many adults. You can brew it hot or cold. It is tart, deep red, and easy to find in health food stores, Latin grocery stores, and online. One important note: if you are already on blood pressure medications, especially kidney protective ones, talk to your doctor before using hibiscus regularly, because it may have an additive effect in some people. But as a strategically chosen beverage, this is one of the strongest entries in the whole conversation. Must drink number 2, 100% pomegranate juice in a small dose. Now let's come back to the juice exception, because pomegranate juice is different. Not because sugar magically stops mattering, but because pomegranate carries an unusually dense polyphenol profile that appears to offer meaningful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory support. Those compounds may help reduce oxidative stress, which matters enormously in kidney protection. Remember what we talked about earlier. The glomerular filter gets damaged by high pressure, high sugar, inflammation, oxidative stress, and chronic vascular injury. Pomegranate's value is that it is not just a sugar delivery system. It is also delivering compounds that appear to counter some of the oxidative and inflammatory pathways involved in kidney damage. But dose matters. This is not a giant glass. This is not a fruit punch. This is not a blend. This is not pomegranate flavored. We're talking about 100% pure pomegranate juice, about 4 ounces, taken with a meal. That small amount gives you the polyphenol benefit while keeping the sugar load much more controlled. If you drink 16 ounces, you have changed the equation. If you drink a sugary cocktail blend, you have changed the equation. So precision matters here. Used properly, pomegranate juice may support a more protective antioxidant environment. Used carelessly, it becomes just another sugar hit. Must drink number 3, water, but used correctly. Now let's close the loop on water, because this is where a lot of well-meaning advice goes wrong. People get told, just drink more water. But more is not always better, and fast is not always safe. If you have kidney vulnerability, especially if you have issues with blood pressure, diabetes, or proteinuria, then the pattern of hydration matters. Why? Because both dehydration and large fluid boluses can stress a system that is trying to maintain stable filtration pressure. Too little fluid can worsen concentration stress, increase hormonal compensation, and create a less favorable environment for the kidneys. But drinking huge amounts all at once is not ideal either. What you want is steady, structured hydration. That means a moderate glass of water after waking, regular moderate amounts through the day, not waiting until you are extremely thirsty, not chugging huge amounts at once. For most adults, that may mean roughly 1.5 to 2 liters a day, depending on body size, climate, heart function, kidney function, and medical guidance. If your doctor has told you to restrict fluids because of advanced kidney disease or heart failure, that is a different situation, and you need to follow their plan. But for many people with early or moderate kidney concerns, the goal is not random overhydration. It is consistency. A good practical pattern is this: 1 glass in the morning, 1 before or with meals, small amounts between meals, and avoiding the extremes of either dehydration or large volume guzzling. Water is still foundational. It just needs to be used intelligently. Now, let me put the full beverage framework together in a way you can actually use. If you have persistent foamy urine, known proteinuria, diabetes, high blood pressure, or you are worried about kidney strain, then your daily beverage routine should look more like this. Use water as your base. Add hibiscus tea regularly if appropriate for you. Use a small amount of pure pomegranate juice with a meal if you want an antioxidant-focused option. And remove the 4 categories that are repeatedly working against you: dark cola, commercial fruit juice, energy drinks, and alcohol. That one shift alone can meaningfully change the stress environment your kidneys are living in every day. Now I want to address something important. This is not about panic. Foamy urine does not always mean severe kidney disease. Sometimes there are harmless explanations. A fast urine stream can create bubbles. Concentrated urine can look different. Toilet cleaning chemicals can affect appearance. But persistent foam that lingers and keeps happening should not be ignored, especially if you also have diabetes, high blood pressure, swelling, fatigue, known kidney issues, or a family history of kidney disease. That is when you need a proper evaluation. And the single most useful test to ask for is the urine albumin to creatinine ratio. Not just a urine test. Not just, they checked my urine once. Ask for that specific measurement, because that number tells you whether protein is leaking, and if it is, how much. It gives you clarity. It gives you a target. And if you repeat it in a few months after changing your routine, it gives you evidence of whether you are moving in the right direction. That is how you take control. Now, let me give you a very simple action plan. If you watched this entire video and you are wondering what to do first, here it is. Step 1. If dark cola is part of your routine, cut it out completely. Step 2. If commercial fruit juice is something you drink because you thought it was healthy, replace it. Step 3. If you use energy drinks for fatigue, stop and find a safer plan. Step 4. If alcohol is in the picture and proteinuria is already present, remove it for now and give your kidneys a cleaner environment. Step 5. Build your base around steady water intake. Step 6. Add hibiscus tea regularly if it is appropriate with your medications. Step 7. If you want a targeted antioxidant beverage, use a small amount of 100% pomegranate juice with a meal, not randomly and not in large volumes. Step 8. Ask your doctor for a urine albumin to creatinine ratio if you have not had one recently. That is how this becomes practical, not vague advice, not fear, not random internet noise, a concrete plan. And before I close, I want to say something directly to the people who are scared right now. Maybe you have already been told you have protein in your urine. Maybe you have been told your kidney numbers are a little off. Maybe you have diabetes and you are terrified of where this could lead. Maybe you have seen what kidney disease did to a parent, a spouse, or a sibling. I understand that fear. Kidney damage feels especially frightening because so much of it happens quietly. You do not always feel it happening. You may feel normal while the lab work slowly worsens. That is exactly why these small, daily decisions matter so much. Because this is one of those areas of health where what you repeat every day often matters more than what you do once in a while. The drinks in your fridge, the drinks in your car, the drinks by your bedside, the drinks with your meals, the drinks you thought were harmless. Those are often part of the story. And the good news is that beverages are one of the easiest places to intervene. You do not need a prescription to stop drinking cola. You do not need a specialist to stop buying energy drinks. You do not need expensive equipment to switch from juice to water. You do not need a gym membership to brew hibiscus tea. These are accessible changes. That matters, because the more accessible a protective habit is, the more likely you are to actually do it. So here are my 3 questions for you. Number 1. Have you ever been told you have protein in your urine, albuminuria, or early kidney disease? Number 2. Were any of the 4 never drinks part of your regular routine, especially fruit juice or dark soda? And number 3. Before watching this, did you know that persistent foam in the toilet could be related to protein leaking through the kidney filter? Tell me honestly in the comments, because your answers reveal something important: the gap between what patients are experiencing and what they have actually been taught. And that gap is exactly why I make these videos. If you know someone dealing with diabetes, high blood pressure, swelling, chronic kidney disease, or unexplained foamy urine, please share this video with them. The people who most need this information are often the least likely to hear it at the right time. And if you want more videos on kidney health, metabolic health, proteinuria, blood pressure, and how to understand what your body is trying to tell you before it gets worse, subscribe to the channel. Because my goal here is not just to tell you what to do, it is to help you understand why it matters. And that understanding is what gives people the power to change. Thank you for being here. Take care of your kidneys, and I will see you in the next video.